No matter where you look in the world, every country owes money to someone. America's debt has surpassed $38 trillion. The European Union holds around 14 trillion, and Japan is sitting near 9 trillion. Even the countries we call wealthy, Saudi Arabia, Germany, China, all of them own a lot of money to other nations. And naturally, we ask the question to ourselves, okay, but if everyone is in debt, who is the creditor of all? That's where things get interesting. Because debt isn't just a weight, it's the invisible skeleton of the modern global system. Wars, crises, rises, falls, all of it stands on an hidden web of obligations. And if you follow that web long enough, you arrive somewhere strange and unexpected. The world doesn't actually owe money to anyone. It owes to itself. But of course, that doesn't mean everyone gets the same benefits. Where did this whole debt story start? Even before credit cards, banking apps, or digital money, governments were borrowing. Back in 1694, England was at war and suddenly ran out of money. The king approached the wealthy merchants and said, "Lend us money, and we'll pay you with steady interest in return." That's how the Bank of England was created, and for the first time in history, a country began spending money it didn't yet possess. This was the ancestor of modern government bonds. Then France followed, the Dutch expanded it, and America embraced it. Over time, the ability to borrow became a symbol of power. Where states once waged wars for gold and land, they now issue bonds and raise capital. Fast forward to today. Debt has become the world's primary export. Every country borrows, every bank lends, and all of us, through taxes, savings accounts, and pension funds, are both borrowers and lenders. So who really holds most of America's enormous debt? Actually, most of it is owed to Americans themselves. Banks, retirement funds, pension accounts, even the Federal Reserve. They all buy U.S. Treasury bonds, and the government pays interest through taxes. The capital circles back into the system. Do foreign countries hold a share too? Of course. Yes. But China's share is only about 2% of all. So the idea that America owes China may sound dramatic, but the real share is much smaller. How does the global loop actually work? Japan lends to the U.S. The U.S. funnels to Europe through the IMF. Europe lends to developing nations, and those countries place their reserves into Western bonds, effectively lending right back to advanced nations. The whole world is like a neighborhood where everyone keeps exchanging IOUs to each other. And as long as nobody breaks the chain, the cycle doesn't pause. Who's the strongest player? Central banks. Because they don't just take care of debt, they generate it. When the Fed or the European Central Bank buys bonds, new money is essentially being printed. Every dollar in your pocket, doesn't matter if it's cash or digital, is someone else's debt. There's no such thing as debt-free capital. So, when will all this debt be paid off? True and honest answer, never. Governments borrow not to clear off debt, but to replace it. New debt is issued to pay old debt. Banks know, investors know this, governments also know this. In fact, the entire system depends on it. Because if you erase government debt completely, you'd eliminate the safest asset banks hold. Money in circulation would decrease in massive amounts, and the economy would entirely freeze. Debt is like the pulse of the system. It has to keep beating nonstop. Where does trouble begin? Not when debt increases, but when confidence collapses. Greece fell in 2010. Argentina defaulted multiple times. Sri Lanka went through a similar crisis. When investors lose trust, interest rates skyrocket, governments buckle, and citizens pay the price. The system's faceless creditors suddenly become very clear. The IMF, rating agencies, anonymous investors, and the story repeats itself. The most essential truth. Debt isn't just money moving between nations. Inside societies, it flows upward. Interest payments are mostly collected from workers, taxpayers, and flow upward to banks, funds, large investors, and massive capital owners. This is why inequality and indebtedness rise together. Debt has transformed into money itself. Governments create it. Banks multiply it. We use it everywhere. Debt once meant restraint. Today it means delicate balance. But if that balance breaks, the illusion disappears. And we are reminded what debt truly represents, a promise that can't always be fully settled. If this perspective opened a new window for you on how you see the system, stay tuned. History leaves clues leading to the answers. You just need to know where you have to look.